So, well, again, it's a lovely welcome. Session 2 of today's class, correct? So, we were discussing question number 1 and part A and B have been discussed. And so, we are trying to actually recap the things which we have done already in our earlier phase of education. So, continuing the same line of pattern. We'll still continue. We'll discuss more things. And now we are going to pick up the third part. So, if you are absolutely ready with the third one, so we can have a look over here also. I haven't rubbed the board yet, so don't get confused by that particular thing because I'm going to use it as you know, actually that is part of my what we call habit. Question number 1, part C. Question number 1, very simple one, very, very elementary. 50,000 are shares, face value is 10, and amount 2 on application and 4 on allotment, 5 on allotment and 3 on call. And this time you can see actually directors have received 80,000 applications. 80,000 applications have been received in this particular case. So just pay attention. 80,000 applications have been received in this particular case. So case number C we are going to pick up now. Case number C. Just pay attention here. Here I'm writing it. Or should I rub it out? Case number C. Case number B has been erased out now. Correct? So case number C. Here the solution goes. No doubt about that, that number of applications are more in comparison to the shares offered. So of course this question will fall in the category of oversubscription without an iota of doubt. And whensoever you find that question is of this particular category, you should now make a habit of preparing this particular table. Now, in this particular table, we are going to write 80,000. Correct? Now, this time directors decided what? Directors this time have decided, last time they decided to reject the excess applications. But this time, what they decided? This time, directors decided that they are going to allot 50,000 shares among all the applicants. Among all the applicants. Now, dear students, this particular case can't be termed as rejection. I have already told you the meaning of rejection. Rejection means if you are going to applying for 10,000 share in a particular company and you are not getting a single share, then it is a case of rejection. But if you happen to or tend to get a single share, then that particular case can't be termed as rejection because you haven't been rejected completely. You are still the shareholder of the company. That's a different matter that you have got only one holding. But you are very much a holder. It means such shareholders who get completely and comprehensively rejected, actually they can't be shareholders of the company. That is why we use the term rejection in case of such shareholders who didn't get a single share. However, in this particular case, we find actually that 50,000 shares have been offered among 80,000 applicants. So, which indirectly means actually that if you are applying for 8 shares in this particular company, you are getting only 5 shares. But that doesn't mean that you have been rejected because you have been allotted 5 shares. That's a different matter that you didn't get the full quota of shares which you were aspiring for. Correct? Of course, it was your desire that you should get 8, but company unfortunately gave you 5 shares. Now, this is the decisions which entities most of the time, generally in practical life, actually take. Because most of the time in practical life, when you will enter into the practical life, and we hope so that you should and you would also, then you would find that most of the time, whenever a public issue is done, there is a case of oversubscription. And most of the time, director takes such decisions because this decision is beneficial for the company because no shareholders are made angry. Now, suppose if you are applying for 10,000 share in a particular company and you didn't get a single share, of course, you will get a lot of anger. My God, I have applied for 10,000 share, I didn't get a single share. So you will make a promise to yourself that henceforth I will never ever apply for this particular entity's share. So That means when we reject the shareholders, correct? There are bright chances that we may annoy the shareholder. So it could be a problematic factor for the company, especially if the same company goes for public issue later on sometime. So such shareholder who get annoyed may not apply. So company generally in practical life actually takes such decisions to allot the shares to shareholder as far as possible. Correct? So in this case, company decided that all 50,000 shares should be allotted among the 80,000 applicants. As you know, this sort of decision is known as pro rata allotment. Correct? This is known as pro rata allotment. And this is also known as pari passu allotment. So indirectly it means actually that lesser number of shares are being divided among higher number of applicants. Correct? In a particular ratio, you can say, for example, in this case, we can make the ratio as 5:8. That means if you are applying for 800 shares, which indirectly it means you are getting only 500 shares. So this is a case of pro rata allotment. And for simplicity's sake, instead of using the term pro rata, sometime I might use case of excess. Instead of writing pro rata, sometime I might happen to write case of excess. Inadvertently, it might happen that during the discussion, so you immediately, if suppose I would say case of excess, you immediately concluded that I am referring to case of pro rata. Is it clear to you? So it is a case of pro rata allotment. In this case, first of all, you pick up the difference. Excess applications are 30,000, no doubt in this case. Excess applications are 30,000. Application rate is 2. So total amount is 60,000. Excess amount is 60,000. Now what will be the treatment of this 60,000? Would you refund it? No, you are not going to refund it this time. As you know, because you have already done all these things in your earlier level of education, we are just trying to recap the things. As you know that you used to transfer this money to the allotment. But my point is, why you are not going to refund it and why you used to transfer it to allotment. So in order to understand the reasoning behind that, please pay attention. Suppose you are one of the shareholder, and with great aspirations you applied for 8 shares. You also applied for 8 shares. So you were desiring to have 8 shares of this particular entity. When you are applying for shares, of course, you are going to pay the application money. So since you are going to apply for 8 shares, total application money paid by you is 60. Correct? After some time, you receive a notification from the company. Now, company tells you that, thanks very much for applying to 8 shares of our company, but unfortunately, due to oversubscription, we are not in a position to allot you 8 shares, so we are allotting you only 5 shares. So this notification you happens to receive from the entity. Now, the problem is that if you are allotted 5 shares, how much application money you should have had paid on 5 shares? You have already paid on 8 shares because you were aspiring, you were desiring to have 8 shares of this company, so you made a payment of rupees 60. But company allotted you 5 shares, so logically you should have paid application money 10. Isn't it or not? Logically speaking, you should have paid 16, or you should have paid only 10, but unfortunately you paid 16. Now, the major point is that you have paid 6 rupees extra. Now try to understand the reasoning behind that. Because you are not a case of rejection, you are a very much shareholder of the entity. So why the hell in the world entity is going to refund your money? Because you are still supposed to pay further money to the company. Company is yet to receive some money from you. So that is the reason company, instead of refunding this 6 to you, company will tell that, dear friend, dear shareholder, you have been allotted 5 shares and our next call is allotment money. Since you have been allotted 5 shares and rate of allotment is 5, so your amount due happens to be 25. So we will adjust this 6 rupees when you are going to pay your allotment money. So in other words, company is asking you that we are going to adjust this rupees 6 which you have paid extra, correct, will be adjusted against the allotment money, and in future you pay us only 19 instead of 25. But this is possible because you are a shareholder of the company. You got my point or not? You must understand, especially when you are pursuing a professional course, the logic behind that. So why we take it towards the allotment thing should now be absolutely clear to you. Is it clear to you? So in case of pro rata, in case of rejection, we refund, but in case of pro rata, we always take the extra amount towards the allotment, and why you should be clear of this particular aspect. Is it clear to you or not? Because shareholder is still supposed to pay you. So company will simply tell to you that we are going to adjust this money in future against your future payments. Is it clear? So in this case, the pattern of entries will be like this. Just pay attention. Correct? I'm rubbing it out. So I'm writing the entries here. I'm using these formations. Case number C now. Correct? We are explaining case number C. So I will also rub it out so that you shouldn't get confused. Case number C. My first entry will be bank account debit. This time we received 80,000 applications. So 80,000 into 2, that is 160. Correct? 160. Isn't it or not? So 1,60,000. First entry you will always pass, of course, with the number of applications which you receive, as you know better than I. Now the second entry is 80,000 shares into 2. Application money will have to be adjusted now. So for the same, what you are supposed to do, out of this 160, share of application money in share capital is on 50,000 issued shares at the rate of 2. Correct? You should not let it escape out of your memory that whenever we transfer to capital, we always take into account total number of share issued. So share of application money in share capital is 1 lakh. Now you look into this particular table, you will find that this time you are not refunding anything. You are not refunding anything. You need not require to write to bank. Just to recap the things, you are not refunding anything. However, this money will be taken towards allotment because this is excess application money, correct? And this excess is due to pro rata. So pro rata excess money will always be taken towards the next call unless and until otherwise stated. So you shall now write to share allotment account. To share allotment account, and in bracket, if you want to mention, you should write 30,000 into 2, that is 60,000. And this time your notation will be like this: adjustment of application money, adjustment of application money, adjustment of application monies towards capital. You adjusted application money towards capital. So this is how you are going to put up your narration in this particular case. Correct? Now your third entry will be like this only, because third is your due entry. And so many times now I have already told you that due entry shall always be passed with the number of shares issued, which happens to be 50,000. So 50,000 shares have been issued. Call rate is 5, 250. So share of allotment money in share capital is 250. This is the amount due. Now try to understand the point. When I was explaining the point, I told you that company will tell to this particular shareholder that you have been allotted 5 shares and call rate is 5. Allotment rate is 5. So amount due definitely is 25, but you have paid rupees 6 already, so now please pay us rupees 19. Correct? It means whenever there will be case of pro rata, there will be some impact when you will pass this entry. Correct? Whenever there will be a case of pro rata, it will influence the receipt amount of allotment. See here. As per entry number 3, it is clear that we are supposed to receive 250 because amount due is 250. But out of 250, we have already received 60,000. Is it clear to you? So now you are going to subtract it. So it means now you are going to receive 1,90,000. You have already received 60,000. So that is the reason now you are going to receive only 1,90,000. Is it clear to you or not? So receipt of allotment money and entry number 5 and 6 will remain as it is. Is it clear to you or not? I'm just giving you 1 minute of time to note it down. If some of you want to, then we'll move over to the fourth case of this particular problem. Just a minute. So now we pick up case 4 of this particular question. Question number 1 is still on. We are picking up now case 4. So first of all, this is case C. Now I am explaining case D. Correct? So I am writing here case D because I will use the same entries, same format. So I am writing here case D. This is case D. Now as you can see, in case D, some multiple decisions have been taken. So far, company was taking, or should I say directors were taking only single or unilateral decisions, but now multilateral decisions are being taken, and it happens in practical life this way around too. So you can move over to part C. You will find that directors this time received once again 80,000. So we are explaining case D. I have already written over there. So we are trying to explain the things through this particular table. 50,000 shares are being offered, and even in case D, we are receiving 80,000 applications. But in this case, what is happening? The first decision, I am writing decision here. Out of 80,000, as you could see, 10,000 have been comprehensively rejected. Out of 80,000, 10,000 have been rejected. What does it mean? It means these applicants were not offered a single share. So that is why you will write here nil. So now, difference you will note, the difference is 10,000. Difference. Henceforth we will write difference. Correct? The difference is 10,000. And rate of application is 2. So total amount is 20,000. So what will be the treatment? This amount, of course, you are going to refund. Is it clear to you or not? Correct? Things are absolutely clear to you already. So this amount you are going to refund. Just to remind you once again that whenever we will prepare this particular table, of course this particular table shall have to be prepared only if the question falls in the category of oversubscription. And second important valid point is that whenever we will prepare this particular table, we shall always take into account application rate. Is it clear to you or not? Now you will balance it. So what is the balancing position now? If you will balance it, you will find it. The position is like this. 50,000 shares are still with the company. That means company can still offer 50, but there are only 70,000 applicants in the waiting. Correct? Only 70,000 applicants are there now in the waiting. Is it clear to you or not? So what will be our next decision? Now we will look into the decision arena of the question. We will find down over there that next decision is to accept 30,000 in full. Now, such decisions have been given, but it will not have any impact. Now, if all the shareholders will be given full quota of shares, it will not pose any problem to us, but still we shall have to mention it down over here. Next decision is that out of 70, 30,000 have been allotted 30,000 shares. So you shall write below 70,000, 30,000, and out of 50, 30,000 shares have been offered. However, it will not have any sort of problem, so we need not require to do any special treatment for the same. Is it clear to you or not? So it will not impact because there is no difference. So unless and until there will be difference, there won't be any special treatment. And now we will again notice the balance. Now in this case, balancing position is 20,000 shares are still to be offered and 40,000 are in the waiting. So 40,000 applicants are still there. So what is the next decision? Now you could see in your question, you will find that the last decision is to allot remaining shares in pro rata. To allot remaining shares in pro rata. What does it mean? It means remaining shares, that is 20,000, have been allotted among the remaining applicants. It means question has stated that remaining shares have been allotted in pro rata. It means remaining shares have been allotted among remaining applicants. So this is your third and final decision. So this happens to be your final decision. Correct? Now in this case there is difference. It is a pro rata case, 20,000. Correct? This is a pro rata case. So I will simply write excess. Excess, whenever I will write, you understand that it is a case of pro rata. Correct? 20,000 into 2, 40,000 total amount. This 40,000 will be adjusted towards allotment. That is the special treatment. So now you can pass down the entry even of your own, but still for your sake I will pass down the entry. Now could you let me what will be your first entry, sir? It will be exactly the one which you have written. So right, my first entry will be bank account debit to share application. Number of application we have received in this case 80, call rate, application rate is 2. So 160 is the amount which I am going to receive. Then case D, what will be your second entry? Under the second entry, we have to adjust the application money. Now 80,000 into 2, 160 is the amount of application. Out of that, rupees 1 lakh will be taken towards capital. And we have, in this case, refunded on 10,000 share, rejected share at the rate of 2. So we shall write here 20,000. Correct? And then on 20,000 share at the rate of 2, 40,000 have been taken towards allotment. So this will be the picture of your second entry, and your narration will be adjustment of application money towards capital, refund and allotment. Refund and allotment. So this is how you are going to pass down the entry. Is it clear to you? Third entry, of course, because third entry is always passed with the number of shares offered. So 50,000 shares will be considered, call rate will be considered. Not a big problem, 250 is the amount due. But because in this question there is a case of pro rata, and you have to be a little bit careful, especially if the question is of pro rata, that whenever you are going to write your fourth entry, some impact and influence will be there. For example, you were supposed to receive 2,50,000, but as you could see that 40,000 have already been received. So which means that now you would receive 2,10,000. So you shall write here 2,10,000 in this particular case. Correct? This is how receipt of allotment money will take place, and entry number 5 and 6 will remain unchanged. That means if you want to pass, you can. Your This entry will be call money due 50,000 share into 3 and then you are going to receive it. Is it clear to you? So I'm very sure that after having done this particular question, all the concept which you have had done at your earlier phase of education must have now been recapitulated by you. So that was the basic objective of question number 1, to recap the concepts, to recap the things which we have already done. So with that, we reach the end of this particular session. And without any doubt, we'll continue with this one. So till then, it's a lovely goodbye from here. Shubhratri.